on. Okay, ladies and
All
gentlemen.
right, guys. Want to have some quiet? Hello? Excuse me. Excuse me. We're gonna start. Thank you for all coming for tonight, Wareham Zoning Board of Appeal. Tonight agenda, July 24, 2024. It is 6:30 p.m. and we are at the room 520 of the Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. I want to call the meeting to order and make a roll call. My far left, Mr. Richard Christopher Conti, Mr. Richard Semple. My far right, Mr. Troy Larson, Ms. Veronica Debonese, our clerk, Mr. Jim Akabachi, myself, the chair, Nazi Al-Khalasi. We're gonna do some quick business before we start. We're gonna start with the minutes for 4/24/24, 6/26/24, and 7/10/24. What's the wishes of the board?
You want to do them as all three as a group, or do you want to do them individually?
We'll do as a group, as long as you guys are
I've
okay with it.
reviewed them all, and I couldn't find anything to correct. Damn it.
Any discussion on that? Anybody?
Motion to approve as presented.
Got a motion to approve the minutes 4/24/24, 6/26/24, and 7/10/24 by Jim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Rich. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
And myself, Nazi, aye. We're gonna move to 30-21, Mr. Markley, to determine the content of the settlement. Is Mr. Markley here?
On Zoom.
Yes, you wanna come forward?
I think... I'm Judge.
Attorney.
What's your name?
He's attorney.
Amelia? Okay, and you got an attorney on Zoom? I got two of them, yeah. You got two of them? And
For two different ones.
Markley is the one, okay,
We'll get to it, don't worry. What's her name? Amanda?
yeah.
Have a seat, Dominic. All right, state your name and address, please.
Howard Markley, 40 William Street, Beverly, Mass.
Dominic Camerano, 22 West Boulevard, Onset, Mass.
All right, what brings you here tonight?
Okay, we got approved by the zoning a few years back.
Right.
It was brought into court. The lady appealed it, and we basically won the appeal. She put in a few minor things, no camper, no blinds in the window, nothing that affects the structure. So we went to get the building permit. The building inspector said that where it's not the exact zoning ruling, that we had to come and see you guys, even though everyone feels they're insignificant.
Well, he meant that it's not the same conditions, you mean?
Thank you. We can't, no unregistered vehicles on the lot,
Right.
no camper, blinds in the window, and put up a fence. We already put up a fence.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not
Had
sure if you
nothing-
can hear. If you
I'm
can
gonna
hear me,
get to you,
I'm
one
joining.
second.
I was here
Nothing
by
to do
Zoom.
with-
One
the
second,
structure.
I'll get to
Nothing to
you.
do with the structure, so that's why we're here, because the building inspector said we couldn't get a permit without your approval again on the
All right.
minor things.
Okay, go ahead, Counselor.
Yeah, my name's Attorney Jordan Rodrigues. I represent Mr. Markley and Mr. Camerano. So I was just here. I believe I informed Sonia that I'd be appearing via Zoom. So I believe I was just let in a couple moments ago. So I wasn't sure if you were able to see or hear me prior to Mr. Camerano speaking.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I'm just here more or less just to, field any questions you may have. Obviously, Mr. Camerano kind of laid it out pretty succinctly. We just need a determination that the proposed changes are insubstantial. We believe that actually it's the exact same thing that was granted back in June of 2021, and the settlement agreement specifically states that the parties agreed to uphold the ZBA's prior decision dated June 23rd, 2021. So as Mr. Camerano was stating, there's a couple other minor things that, I classify them more as just, neighbors, being neighborly and getting along, no RVs, certain blinds in the windows, privacy. So we just like a determination that the changes are insubstantial. That way these guys can just go ahead and continue on with their project, which they were granted permission to do 3 years ago.
So you're asking us to consider as a minor modification?
Correct.
All right,
Insubstantial,
let's
I believe,
see if-
is the word. It's the wording in the decision, but yes, minor, insubstantial, whichever.
Is there the other attorney, Amanda, what's her name?
I believe he's for the
If you have
different,
somebody else that wants to speak on this matter on Zoom,
I think that's a different attorney for a different article.
Yeah, it's not ours.
All right, what's, you heard that, so I guess we're gonna, whether we consider it's minor modification or substantial. So what's the board wishes? What do you think, Troy?
It doesn't sound substantial to me.
Veronica?
Seems fine.
Jimmy? Chrissy?
Fine with me.
Rich?
Okay with me?
Anyone on the public want to speak in favor against this matter? Okay, we hear nothing, so, all right, that being said,
I move to find that this to be an insubstantial modification and that we allow them to proceed.
all right, and the findings that you're gonna go by the court order decisions, okay?
Correct.
All right, very well. So the motion by Jim, do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Troy, all in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
And myself, Nazir, aye. It carries. Thank you. You good?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board members.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome. Continue public.
Good.
Thank
Well,
you, Jordan.
21-23, Angela McEwen, 386 Main Street.
That's going to be continued. That's tied up with the
Planning
planning
board.
board. So
Well, how long she wants continued for?
until the planning board decides, makes their decision. She can't come to us until the planning board gets done torturing them.
We gotta give a date. We can't go without a date. Let's continue till September. Let's go September 25.
So moved.
We have a motion to continue 21-23, and Angela McEwen of 386 Main Street to continue
We need to,
the matter till 386.
the time for the board to make a decision has to be...
I think she signed us plenty of time. How long?
She's asking...
To the 11th.
The hearing currently scheduled for July 24th. She's asking for continuance until August 28th. Her decision deadline, she's asking until September 11th. It's noted... on
Okay,
the-
so we have September 11, so let's go to August 28. Modify your motion, Jim.
I'm moving that we continue until August 28th.
Okay, we have a motion to continue by Jim, 21-23, Angela McEwen till August 28th, and we have a decision deadline signed by the attorney. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Rich, all in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
And myself, aye. It carries. 22-24, 5 Golf Star.
5-star, that's an attorney online. And I guess he's up on the screen.
All right, public hearing still open, Counselor, just state your name for the record.
Yes, Attorney Scott Rubin on behalf of 5-Star Golf Cars and Utility Vehicles LLC.
Okay, so what's your wishes?
We did have an exchange of information with Mr. Cordero from Allen and Major, and based on the list of initial items that were brought to our attention, we need to go out to somewhat bid for further engineering services, and the scope of services that we're going to need are going to take a little more time than we anticipated. So we would ask that this be continued. I think the first meeting in September, would that be the 11th?
Okay. All right, is everybody okay with September 11? Anyone here in the public for this matter or online, for or against? I hear none. So he'd like a continuous for the 11. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Yep.
Do we have a deadline decision extension?
9:25?
What do we have here? Do you see it, Veronica?
Yeah, it says 9:25. Sonia, I think you probably wrote it in by hand, it looks like.
Yes, it's 9:25, because it wasn't there.
9:25? September 25?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Let's get a motion to move.
So moved.
We have a motion to continue 5-Star Golf Star, 22 golf carts, 22-24 of 161 and 167 Marion Road till September 11 by Jim. That's by Jim. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Troy. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
And myself, aye. It carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go back.
Appreciate it.
161. Just give us a minute, guys. 28-24, Francis Reynolds, variance, 23 Mildred Terrace.
I don't have that folder, do I?
This is only making decision. We're only voting.
Okay.
All right, public hearing has been closed, no discussion. He attached his architectural plans to the website. I
Oh,
looked at
okay.
them, I like them. I don't know about you guys. What do you, Troy, did you look at them?
I did, I'm good with them.
You okay with that?
Yep.
Veronica?
I did not see them.
Jimmy?
I saw them. That was the one that had the 3D rendering, correct? Yeah, okay, yeah, I got it. We're good.
Rich?
I'm good.
Chris, any comment?
Is there a balcony on the second floor or
Yeah.
something? I know those lots are kind of small over there. I don't know. Does it really overlook all the rest of the neighbors? Is that an issue?
All right. I'm sure, I mean, they're on top of each other there, so I'm sure it looks over.
Can respond if appropriate. There's actually,
No, you can't. It's
Oh, it's
public,
closed.
it's
I didn't think I
closed.
could, okay.
What's the address there?
23 Milford.
Milford Terrace. Are you looking for the number, Naz? 28, 24?
Direct to buyers,
You wanna,
125.
you wanna,
I saw her. I was just concerned about the deck off the back with the lots being so small overlooking, the neighbors.
I'm sure it's within the setback. Yeah, there's a, yeah, I have them here. If, Chris, you have them?
Yeah, I have them right here.
I mean, the variance, let me look at it again. Give me a minute. Existing condition. Proposed use. It is on the proposed deck is on the plans, and there's a shed in front of it that he's removing, if you remember. Do you have the plans on the proposed use?
I do.
Okay, and so the deck it's on to the side that overlook the road, Mildred Terrace, and I'm sure the neighbor, but there was a shed in there by the neighbors that they're removing. And the of course. Yeah, the shed was 4.5 feet, and the deck is about 13 feet from setback. He actually meets setback with the deck. He doesn't need a variance for that. Okay?
I'm okay.
All right. That being said, are you guys, yes?
So did Chris, you here for the whole hearing?
Yes.
So maybe Chris should vote, because I can see what you're opening, but I don't.
Ah, okay, that Chris is fine. So Chris will be sitting on that, for Veronica's vote. All right, so that being said, a vote, please. Public hearing's been closed, let's make a vote. Any motion?
so I think we want to accept the plans as presented and approve per the plans, subject to standard conditions.
All right, we have a motion to grant with standard conditions. And this, on the findings, on the variance, I believe it does meet statutory requirement of MGL 40A, Section 10. Do I have a second on that matter?
Second.
Second by Rich. Any discussion on this matter or conditions? I would say the conditions to be built as planned, presented, and dated properly, right?
Correct.
I second.
By, is it Bremen Engineering? Bremen Engineering, and it's stamped, I hate this computer. All right, stamped 2/14/2024. All right? So everybody's okay? So everybody in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, aye. It carries. Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Have a good night. Okay, 500. Okay, public hearing, 36-24, Indian Neck Property, LLC, variance / special permit / site plan review, 50 Indian Neck Road.
Okay, this one we have to read, huh?
Yes. Just give us a minute, we're gonna be reading it.
3624. Might as well. Wow, look at all this, look at all this jazz. Yeah. I think we're, there's a big set of plans. How many do you have there?
Yeah, but these are without plans. This were plans.
Okay.
Here you go.
Thank you.
They have some half-size plans if you'd like.
No, we have.
We have some monster plans here, and I guess some of them had
Do you want a half size?
all plans. All right. The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing on July 24th, 2024, at 6:30 PM in room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 36-24 for a variance / special permit and site plan review from the requirements of Article 3, Table 320, and Article 15, Section 1520 of the Wareham zoning bylaws to Indian Neck Property LLC, care of GAF Engineering, Inc., of 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass., seeking to repurpose the existing former nursing home building as an intermediate care facility located at 50 Indian Neck Road. This would appear on Assessors Map 39, Lot H1, in the R43 zoning district.
All right, name and address?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Mark Bobrowski. My office is in Concord, Massachusetts, in Damon Mills Square. And with me tonight are Jack Hines, the manager of the Indian Neck Property LLC. You all know Bill. Joining us will be Richard Kukuru, who is the executive director and president and chief executive officer of Gosnold, Inc., which will be the tenant for the proposed facility. I'd like to take a minute of the board's time to lay out some context here, because this is not your average or usual variance application. The proposed use of this facility will be a behavioral health treatment and resource center. The existing Forest View Nursing Home is out of business. This operation will primarily treat recovering drug and alcohol abusers. It's a very much needed facility in the Commonwealth. I believe in the COVID year of 2020, little known fact, over 2,000 people in the Commonwealth died of overdoses. So it's an important function that will help the community, your community, as well as the surrounding communities. Now, as a result, this is protected by federal disability and state disability laws. The Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, and the Federal Fair Housing Act amendments of 1988 both acknowledge that recovering drug and alcohol abusers are disabled persons protected by the law. So that protection would run to the carrier, or to the provider, rather, who is going to provide the facility in which these people may engage in recovery. That's Mr. Kukuru's organization, Gosnold, Inc. So under the circumstances, I want you to imagine this as you may have done this before, I don't know. Have you ever had a wireless application come in and apply for a variance?
A wireless?
Yeah. So the statute says under Chapter 48, Section 10, as you well know, that the key here is, first of all, whether there's soil condition, shape, and topographical features unique to the lot that cause hardship. That's not what this is about tonight. It's about whether or not the facility can be reasonably accommodated through the issuance of the use variance and site plan approval to follow. When a wireless carrier comes in, generally speaking, they're not in the proper location. You may have a district for them, there's a gap in coverage, they want to put something over here. our appeals court has already ruled that you substitute the federal telecommunications law for the test under Chapter 48, Section 10, the variance statute. So the question becomes, does this close the gap in coverage under the wireless or telecommunications law? And here tonight, the question is whether or not this application can be reasonably accommodated. We argue that it can. There's an existing facility. We're not going to have any different impact, generally speaking, in terms of traffic, noise, lights. It's relatively the same. And that use variance as a reasonable accommodation will allow the project to go forward. I can easily provide you with a copy of the appeals court cases, McKinney versus Board of Appeals of Westminster, in which the court says substitute the test. And that's also covered in the memorandum that I gave you as a cover for the application. So we're here technically to apply for a use variance because the building commissioner has deemed this to be a medical-related facility. I think we had asked him originally to be an intermediate care facility, but I believe that he ultimately determined in his denial letter that it was a medical care facility. Doesn't bother me. What we're asking you to do is to give us a use variance as a reasonable accommodation so that Gosnold can operate its protected facility at this location.
All right, very well. Now, so are you applying for intermediate care or a rehab? There's a difference.
The building inspector made his determination. I'm not arguing with it.
All right, what are you applying for? What do you here for? For an intermediate care or a rehab center?
There's no rehab center that I know of in
Or detox?
Well, what he said it is, and I'm not arguing with him, is a medical-related facility. And that's one of the uses in your use table. I think it's medical-related facility or hospital. We're not a hospital. We're not.
And it's not allowed use in that zone, right?
No, you're right.
Then that's why you're here for the variance.
That's why we're here for the use variance.
So you agree what you're applying for is a medical use, right?
Yes.
And you agree it needs a variance?
We agree not to contest the building inspector's determination, commissioner's determination that it's a medical-related facility. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I'm going to apply for a use variance in the form of a reasonable accommodation to bring in a facility that's protected by federal and state disability laws.
I'm not an attorney, but I don't know how much the federal, I understand that the federal protects education and religious everywhere, not
That's the Dover
medical.
Amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
That's a state law.
a state law, but I don't see it, or I'm not sure. We're gonna check on it. We have locations in the town that these uses are allowed. It's not like we discriminate against them. So I don't understand how could the federal government says you could do it everywhere, anywhere.
Well, the federal government doesn't say you can do it anywhere, everywhere. The federal government says that unless the municipality can show that it's unreasonable to do it at a specific location, you can do it. In other
All right,
words,
so that
if our request for accommodation is reasonable, then the burden shifts to you to show that it's not reasonable.
All right, very well. So we both agree that if we believe the use of a variance is warranted, we can grant it,
Yes.
if we believe so.
Yes.
And that's what the federal government believes. So if we can accommodate a variance, it's okay with them.
That's exactly right. Now, I'm just giving you the full picture, so.
I understand.
Don't hold it against me.
I'm not.
But generally speaking, the denial of a reasonable accommodation is something that would be tested in federal district court.
I know that.
That's happened many times with regards to these types of facilities in other communities.
Already going to court, we didn't even start.
I'm trying to retire, Mr. Chairman, so don't make me go to court. That's the message.
That's not up to me, unfortunately. All right.
So I think probably the easiest way to handle this would have GAF present the site plan, and then I'll ask Mr. Kukuro to join us, and he'll give you an overview of Gosnold's programmatic activities. And if you want me to touch on the federal disability laws, I prepared a memo. It's dated June 20th. It's in the file. It covers pretty much what I would have to say. But this is not my first rodeo, so I've
sure.
tried to cover it as well as I can.
Well, let's hear Mr. Madden, quick. I mean, it's gonna go to site plan review regardless,
Exactly.
but we could hear from Mr. Madden. Before we go forward, a quick question. Do you have any quick questions, Roy?
I do.
Veronica?
No.
Jimmy? Rich?
Well, yeah, I do have,
Sorry.
there's Gosnell down across the bridge, same operation, same people?
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the reasons that, I don't think it's any secret that the bridge is the bridge. So one of the reasons they want to have this facility available to them is so that they can have a mainland side presence in the face of coming construction.
Like a bridge over troubled waters, you know?
Well, that's what it is now, isn't it?
All right, Chris, you have a comment before, quick one, no? Rich?
No.
All right, let's hear it, Bill, please.
I'm Bill Madden from GAF, here on behalf of Indian Neck Properties LLC. We presented the site plan review application to your board a couple of weeks ago. Paul Turner, building commissioner, he indicated that site plan review was required because we needed additional parking spaces. In his correspondence back in July, he indicated that 34 additional parking spaces were required. He deemed 3 per bed was what was necessary to accommodate this facility, in addition to the parking that's provided for some guests and also for employees. So the cover sheet indicates the locus. It's on Indian Neck Road. You can see the facility in this aerial image here, and essentially it's about a 6.7 acre parcel. It's in the residence.
Counselor, do you mind give him your mic while he's speaking? Just put it next to you, Bill. Thank you. There you go.
Okay, just
Do Bob Barker for us, hold it.
There we
There you go, look at that.
go. All right, Bob.
Bob Barker. Price is right.
all right. Does that work better? Okay, so let's see, we're in the R43 zoning district. Minimum lot size required for residents in that area is 43,000 square feet. We occupy about 6.7 acres on this particular property. It fronts on Forest Street, which is a side street off of Indian Neck Road. Not in a flood zone. There's no real encumbrances to the lot. A parking schedule is shown on sheet number 1. We show 55, the need for 55 employees, 34 tenant spaces. We require 89 in total. We show 105 on the site. 105 is required just for additional personnel that may come to the site, additional doctors, visitors, things of that nature. So we're showing a total of 102 parking spaces on the site. The second sheet is a standard sheet with general notes and legend. We indicate some construction notes, erosion control notes, drainage issues, the test pits that we excavated on the site for the additional drainage. Small parking lot was added, and to accommodate that parking lot, some additional drainage was also required to be put in place. So we excavated test pits out there, and that information is on the plan and was used as our used in our drainage calculations. The third sheet indicates the site as it exists today. It's a complete existing conditions plan that shows Indian Neck Road access off of Forest Way. Forest Way terminates in a cul-de-sac on the east side of the road. It indicates the parking lots, the building structure, sidewalks around it, the site landscaping and drainage that currently exists on the site. Tried to accommodate as many of the existing site features as possible in the new design, as the drainage did seem to work out all right, although we did indicate on the plan that detailed inspection of the existing structures that are to remain is to take place, and they're to be repaired as necessary. This portion of the site, I guess to the southeast, this is the vacant portion of land that the additional employee parking area is to be constructed on. But A lot of modifications are going to occur on the existing site to accommodate the new use. This sheet indicates the demolition, where there's some modest demolition to occur on the site. You can see there's a larger parking area in the front of the building that's currently used as the main entrance, or that was used as the main entrance. That's all going to be revamped and what have you. This sheet indicates what we're going to be removing from the site. In addition to removing that main entrance there's also a side entrance up on Forest Street, about 500-600 feet up, driveway that allowed access from the parking lot, employee parking area. That's going to be cut off and no longer used. The fifth sheet is really the site layout. This is what we're proposing to do, proposing to accommodate as much existing pavement as possible and minimize what we need to do for construction. But one of the first things that's proposed is a landscape buffer at the perimeter of the lot. There's just outside the sidewalk and inside the property line, we're proposing a 3-foot high masonry or stone wall. And on top of that 3-foot high wall, we're proposing a 6-foot wooden board-on-board fence. The purpose for that is to provide some pretty significant screening from the neighboring abutters that are across the street. Additionally, I'll show later on the landscape plan, then in front of that stone wall and that fence, we're proposing a fair number of plant material to be installed there, in addition to other plant material that'll be installed on the site, and particularly in the front of the building. But essentially what we do is we'll enter the site from a driveway off of Forest Street, and we'll access the parking lot for patients and visitors and what have you. One of the things that we're adding is an ambulance way to the building. So there's a small pullout that we've put on the parking lot, and a 10-foot wide ramp that goes up to an ambulance entrance or an emergency entrance on the side of the building. It's 10 feet wide, it's constructed out of concrete, and that is solely for individuals that are being delivered to the facility in an ambulance or EMS type vehicle. So that's what's occurring over there. At the rear of the parking lot, we're going to open up the rear of the parking lot and continue around the front of the building with a driveway that provides parking for the handicap parking and for executive parking at the front of the building. The handicap spaces are shown there. The main handicap accessible entrance to the building is the front of the building, so we propose to retain that use at that location and tried to modify the site accordingly. So we show about 20 parking spaces or so up in the front of the building, in addition to the 5 handicap spaces. Pedestrian access from the parking lot is also proposed to occur at that location. And in the front of the building, there was once a little bit of a depression that was used for stormwater management. That has also been modified to a pretty significant degree in that we're filling it in and utilizing the existing underground infiltration basins that exist there today, and to put more significant landscaping at the front of the building. As you go to the south end of the site, access to the service area where the goods for the cooking facilities and deliveries will occur, that'll occur at the back of the building. There's about 14, if I can read right, 14 parking spaces that are being added at the rear to accommodate employees for the most part that are going to be service employees, maybe from the kitchen, maybe custodial staff, maybe just regular staff people. But it was put there to accommodate people that would be accessing the service portion of the site. We've also indicated and improved the turnaround at the rear of the building, so fire department apparatus can enter easily and turn around there. I put a turning template, and there's a sketch on one of the other plans that indicate the access into it. As we proceed to the southeast, we've added a new driveway for the employee parking. We're indicating that we have an employee parking lot, two areas for employee parking. There's access from that parking area into the building on the, I guess it's the southeast side. So it's a bituminous concrete parking area. There is drainage associated with landscaping and minor amount of site lighting. The next sheet, sheet 6, this indicates the drainage. You can see that we put underground infiltration all for our new parking area. We accommodate most of our newer laid-out parking area with existing drainage that's at the front of the building. So we're retaining most of the drainage facilities that presently exist on the entire site, with the exception of a portion to the southeast. So there's grading and provided for all that meets the stormwater handbook and the town's requirement for drainage. Let's see, this is an erosion control plan. We're always required to provide an erosion control. We show where our limit of work is, construction access, things of that nature, the run-of-the-mill things to prevent runoff from entering into the town-owned property that's to the south. And this sheet number 8, is the landscaping plan. You can see what we've done with the perimeter landscaping. We call out the fence, we call out the wall, and we show the Leland cypress that are to be placed in front of the wall. Leland cypress is a pretty tall evergreen. It'll grow fairly large. What we did is put them in groups because there are some mature trees that exist out there now. We wanted to retain those. Didn't want to remove them just for the sake of putting that buffer in. So we think that we've spaced them out adequately to retain what is there and mix up the plant material a little bit existing and proposed. The planting that occurs in the front of the building behind the fence, in the executive parking, the handicap spaces, that's another area that's fairly well landscaped, as is the portion of the site that's to the far southeast. There's a number of trees that are planted there. I think these are spruce trees that are evergreens that will provide year-round screening, as we have done on the parking lot as well. So we screen from forest, we screen the site from the employee parking from the parking area. There's some ground cover type material and other ornamental shrubs that are located there and adjacent to the building. Another sidewalk will be will be provided at the rear of the building to provide access for those service area employees. But there's the planting schedule. There's a large number of plants there, a couple of 300, I would say, in total. So it's fairly significant landscaping plan and lighting plan. We put a few lights. You can see the photometrics that are laid out for the light poles, but we thought it was wise to add some lighting at that employee parking area and the area behind the building, just for security purposes more than anything, for people that are working off shift. You know, the facility be manned 24 hours a day. So it's one of those situations that safety is important to the staff. And the remaining sheets are simply that of the construction details that we have relative to the sidewalk, the curbing, the pavement, the dumpster pad, the dumpster enclosure, and things of that nature. And I think the last sheet was that of the fire department access and turning radius that show how we can access in off of Forest, enter into our parking lot, travel through the parking lot, through the gated exit at Forest Street, and circulate out back onto Forest. In a similar fashion, we've done the same thing at the rear of the site, where we had to show fire department apparatus turnaround for the site. So this little tail was really installed there just for the fire department issues. Site does have town water, does have town sewer. gas is also at that site. The electric is the electric, and pretty much that's it. We have there's an emergency generator at the rear of the building. The electrical transformer is back there. So it's fully utility as it is, and really the site is just being modified to accommodate the repurposed use. That's pretty much the.
All right. Well, site plan, Alan Major will review it. We can hash it out, whatever issues are. The question I want to ask, I'm looking at your site. You have inpatient program, outpatient program, clinical stabilization service, medical detoxation. Is this one of all, or what are you which one you describe this one gonna be like?
Maybe I can answer those. So I'm Richard Cooper.
Have a seat, please. State your name and for the record.
Richard Cooper, President and CEO of Gosnold.
Okay.
So, look, clarification for you. We're relocating our services off of the Cape. So this would
So
be.
you're bringing that facility?
Bringing that facility here, that's correct. So our detox facility, 48 beds, and our rehab, 48 beds, would be relocated from Falmouth to this building. We would still maintain some property off Cape, but the majority of our inpatient services would be here.
So 96 bed totals?
That is correct.
Okay. And you have all these things, the detox, all these things, right?
Yeah, there's no outpatient services, though. We're just providing inpatient services. There'll be no outpatient services at all.
So no people walking in,
That is correct.
getting patch and leaving, things like that?
And no visits either. Patients, at this level of care, we don't have visitors. So it'll be patients, and in a detox setting, they're there between 5 and 7 days, and in the rehab, they're there between 3 weeks and 4 weeks.
Okay, all right. All right, we go to question. Go ahead.
How many rooms do you have at Gosnold right now?
Same.
Oh, same.
48, 48. We're not increasing the bed size.
Troy?
I don't have any questions.
Jimmy?
I heard the word gated during Bill's presentation. Is this going to be a gated facility? Or is it just gated, the driveways? I heard the word gate.
It was just gated at the driveway.
One end, so there is going to be some control of who comes and goes? Is that the idea of the gates, or?
The purpose of the gates was to eliminate to eliminate access in front of the residential uses that exist across from the front of the facility.
Okay, so, I'm done, thanks, Bill, thank you. I feel so important when somebody stands up to answer my question. So, you didn't need to, but typically, when people hear of this type of facility, you know, it's just like if you want to put a sober house in a neighborhood, the neighbors don't want all them drunks in their neighborhood. Well, they're there to be sober, not to be drunk. So I somewhat support sober houses, and I support rehabilitation to the point that it's needed. And this business of not in my backyard, well, it's a pretty good location from what I can see. It's really not in anybody's backyard. It's in a few people's front yard. But looks like you guys have made some provisions for that. So this is, my concern is, I don't want to have neighbors coming up and saying, you know, they're going to have drug addicts roaming the neighborhood. These people come in, they go in the facility. I want to understand. They go in the facility, they're in there, they're somewhat under control. They're not
Wandering around, out the door. They're not walking out the front door.
They're not going
leaving
to take a stroll down Main Street. They're not going to have the guys that deliver pot in Wareham drop some smoke
That is
off on
correct.
them. That's not happening.
Correct.
They're there because they're elected to be there, or somebody forced them to be there. Are there anybody?
It's all elected, no force.
All elected.
No force,
So there's
correct.
no court-ordered.
That's correct.
So people have
Volunteer.
gotten to the point where they personally have made the decision that they need what you have to offer.
Or their families have said, you need to do this.
Their family says they need to do it.
That is correct. But it's a
okay.
voluntary program, 100%.
It's voluntary.
That is correct.
And can they sign themselves out at any time while they're there?
That is correct. They can walk out at any point. But our plan is always, as has been in Falmouth, is we transport people off the grounds. Nobody's walking out the front door, walking around the neighborhood.
So when they say,
I'm
I've had
done.
enough of your BS, I'm out of here.
Let us give you a
I'm sure
ride.
you've heard that. You don't say see ya and let them walk down the street in a nightgown.
Where can we take you? Can we take you to
Give 'em
another
a ride.
facility? Can we get you to the bus station? What can we do to help? First of all, we spend days trying to convince them to stay, first of all. Yeah, we don't want them walking out the door, anybody leaving them against medical advice. So we do what we can to keep them, and we're pretty effective at doing that. But you're right, there are people who just want to drink and they want to get high, and they're going to leave.
Hey, I listened to the scanner, and they take them in there, they arrive at the hospital dead, they get Narcaned, they're alive. They go into the hospital for treatment, and they escape, and they're down on the street getting picked up an hour later doing another dose. I get it, it's a bad problem. I also get...
And to be honest with you, it's a bad problem in Wareham. I mean, it is one of the worst towns in the state in terms of what this problem is. So we want to be able to help Wareham with this major issue that Wareham has. So, and we see a lot of patients from Wareham. We have a number of significant patients that we see that we house from Wareham.
Okay, I'm more into a general discussion, and I don't want to burn your time or the board's time.
Sure.
Or other people's time. I get it. I do have one. So if I go to the hospital and I break my leg, and they say you need to go to a nursing home for a while, that's intermediate care. If I go to the hospital because I'm all strung out and they Narcaned me, and they say you need to go to a rehab center, what's the difference between treating somebody for a drug addiction and treating somebody for a broken leg? Can you explain that to me?
There's no difference, really. I mean, they're both voluntary services. People choose to do either one.
Okay.
We see many patients who do exactly what happens. They overdose in the emergency room. They're treated with Narcan, and they say, I don't want treatment, and they walk out of the emergency room. On the other hand, we see a lot of
The good news is the guy with the broken leg never walks out of the emergency room.
It's true. It's true. And the person who's drunk usually doesn't walk out either, so.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Very good, thank you. Chris?
No questions right now.
Rich?
So as far as security goes, I know that you have a staff, but is there any hired-on security in case somebody wants to go out and run down? Because, I mean, these are neighborhood houses that have never tolerated anything like that, and I hope that if something like that is put in there, that they never do. But is there a security team or anything like that put in place?
We currently don't have security services. We've never needed security. We're open to the idea if it would help the neighbors feel comfortable with the idea of this concept, and we're more than happy to do that as part of it.
Thank you.
All right, I know it's a good program, but everything comes at a cost, and unfortunately, that location is gonna come at the neighbor's cost. I wanna turn it to the public, see what they think, and we go from there, see their concerns. All right, in the public, anyone here in favor of this project? Favor first. Anyone against? Yes, Councilor.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm against.
Right. Your name for the record, Councilor.
My name is Leonard Bello. I'm an attorney for those of you who I've not been in front of before, but I've been here for about 40 years, so some of these folks have seen me 100 times.
Can you just speak into the mic, please?
Sure. I'm really standing in for Attorney Jillian Morton, who represents a group of the neighbors. And I did take a ride down the street, and directly across from the facility, there are probably somewhere around 8 homes that have been built on Forest Way. Now, I go back a long way in this town. I lived in Frank Cutler Drive, was my first home here, and behind me was Minot Forest. Minot Forest at that time, if any of you were here, was conservation land. We were all promised there'd never be a building there. That somehow changed, and the nursing home got special permission to build there. Then we had Peter Cooper Drive come in, one of the nicer neighborhoods in town. And then the last neighborhood that came in is the one now built on Forest Way directly across the street. Those neighbors have concerns. You've already mentioned it. Everybody likes a sober house because it's needed. Everybody likes a new prison because it's needed, but no one wants it in their neighborhood. The prison, nobody wanted it on the entire southeast Massachusetts. They ended up putting it in on a reservation, Army. So the real point is, we want you, the neighbors, to say, what if this is your neighborhood? You bought it not knowing that there's ever going to be an addiction group, never going to be substance abusers across the street from you. And now you're suggesting there is. Well, if you're going to do that, and I'm not here to argue, or you've got a difficult decision on your hands with there being a space in town suited and zoned for this type of purpose. And it's whether you grant the variance or don't grant the variance, I'm not arguing one way or another. I believe it's a righteous cause. But I also believe that you need to consider, if it were you, there are things that I need to bring to your attention so that they are considered when you delve into your site plan and decide how I protect the other people in the neighborhood. What can I do? Way too many times in this town, as I'm sure in others, people come in, they get a variance, they put up a car lot, they get licensed for 24 cars. 3 years later, you drive by, there's 62 cars in that lot. Somebody else gets zoned for a two-family house. Next thing we know, there's 3 families in it, because we're pretty difficult to be able to enforce all the zoning regulations that are out there. But in a place like this, I think it's your job to make very specific conditions, conditions that can be enforced. It's wonderful when somebody says, we're going to take all the inpatient and put it here in town. Well, I'm sure it's not limited to the folks in Wareham, so we're going to induct people from southeastern Mass and bring them to Wareham. Well, what happens when they decide it's not going to be inpatient anymore? That we now need to outreach, because that's the new thing. I mean, if you look at all the reports, the internet, and you read of Gosnold Hospital, they're very big on outpatient treatment. Now, I have heard, I've been told by Attorney Morton, that one of the provisions or one of the promises that have been made is that's not going to happen here. There's going to be another facility here that's going to handle all of the outpatient care. Might all be coming from the Cape here, but it's going to be here. Well, maybe you'd like to suggest that that be here before you authorize this construction and the inpatient to be here. Because I don't know that they're going to find anywhere that's going to want an outpatient drug addiction program and people coming for Suboxone or whatever medication they're being used for to try to beat their habit. Wonderful to beat the habit. I'm a lawyer. I deal in courts, criminal courts, and I can tell you 90% of the cases that I've dealt with deal with drug addiction or alcohol. There's a lot of failures. For every one success, I will bet there's 10 failures. Well, these are people that keep coming back. So here are some of the things that I would like you to consider. In security plan, the outside lighting, in a way that it doesn't adversely affect the neighbors, but at least protects, is some form of security and protection. Camera surveillance. an alarm system. I know that you were just told that, people come in and they stay 5 to 8 days or 5 to 10 days. Well, that's a pretty short stay. That's not like a nursing home where somebody comes in for 2 years. Then they're back out. My experience is you can offer them a ride. You can tell them, listen, I'll drive you to the bus stop. But when they sort of say, see you, pal, I'm out of here, they're not going to stand around. They're going to just walk out the door. They don't listen. Drug addicts don't listen. And they're the best liars I've ever met in my profession. Alcoholics don't listen. These are not like somebody who breaks a leg. These are folks that live a different lifestyle. There's now going to be a change. It sounds to me like we're expanding the parking, so we're expanding the traffic. If we allow the project to go forward here, we're going to have construction taking place for I don't know how long. That brings a lot of trucks. I didn't realize it, but I just heard that there's going to be a spot for an ambulance, so that means there is the possibility, and we're planning for some ambulance to be coming with a siren, turning into this small side road, and running by 8 houses. Most of those people, some of them are here, they have children. This is a street that children play on. They play on, it's a dead-end street. It's the perfect place if you want to raise a family that you look to put yourself and your family on a dead-end street. For the reason, your kids can ride bicycles, they can play outside, and they don't have to worry about traffic zipping in or zipping out. There's Forest Way. I have some questions. Who owns Forest Way? I'd like the board to figure that out. Who's responsible for Forest Way? If there's going to be this kind of construction taking place, is it going to be conditioned upon a new top coat being put on Forest Way? Because it's pretty beaten up right now. It's not like your prime road. Should it be lined at this point with the traffic that you're putting in? Should there be a center strip, or not a strip, but a line, a center line, for traffic to be on one side or traffic to come and go on the other side? As cars go up, they turn around on a cul-de-sac and they come back down. Should there be, if there are not sidewalks for people to walk on, should there at least be something like a bike path on the side of the road so that people can walk without endangering themselves, so kids can ride on their bicycles and be told to stay on the bike path? Or, as happened in the past, wheelchair people that come out of the nursing home, going down the street in their wheelchair to get into the center of town to get a drink at some Cumberland Farms or a pack of cigarettes or whatever. The building there now is pretty run down. It's certainly not what was approved when we said we wanted a nursing home there. We got a very pretty plan. Certainly not that now if you go there and look at it. Well, is there an architectural plan of what we're going to see when this thing is built? Has anybody seen, or has it been created? What's it really going to look like? I always thought that was a good idea when I was before the board, to bring up a plan showing this is what you're going to get. Usually it's beautiful, it's colored, bright landscaping, but what's it going to look like in comparison to what's there now? How much more traffic is being created? What kind of deliveries are being made? What kind of trucking is coming in and out? As I think Bill has shown me on the site plan he's created, it looks to me like it's only the first entrance, right as you come into the street. That would be nice. If that's accurate, that's a good place for them to come in and turn around and go back out. So they're not going up the entire street where all the houses are located on the side. I have mentioned the length of time it will take to create it. How long are these houses going to be put up with construction? And is there a time frame that you're going to say, listen, you gotta start building after 7 a.m. in the morning, not at 5 a.m. You can't build at 7 p.m. at night. You can go 5 days a week, 6 days a week, but are you going to at least address it? So there are some guidelines as to how the construction takes place. In addition to who owns the road and who's responsible for the road, there's also utility poles and lines that run along that road. Nobody really knows who owns them. Who's responsible for those? Where are they going to be on this new plan? Now, I know it sort of maybe sounds like a bit of sarcasm, but I know that if I lived there, the question I would ask is, if you bring these folks in and you're telling me it's all good, will you take responsibility if they damage my property? So if you're going to have people come in, you're going to import them. They obviously have problems. They're not there for anything other than problems. I think I've read behavioral problems, mental illness, and drug addiction. Well, when you have a sober house beside you, you generally wake up and can smell pee all over your front yard. You have a drug house beside you, you can find needles all over the grass. Who's going to be responsible? Is Gosnell going to say, we will be responsible? If your place is damaged because of us, the people that we bring in, we would call them sort of like business invitees, are you going to assume responsibility for them if they damage our homes? I think all of those things just need to get considered on behalf of the people that live in the neighborhood. If it works, if you can protect them, everybody's happy. But if something goes awry, everybody throws up their arms and says, not me. Go call your representative. Go call the president. Go call the governor. Not my doing. We're not responsible for Johnny John. So that's my hope, is that those things will be taken into consideration. I'm sure there'll be other hearings in connection with the site plan. Hopefully, Jillian Morton will be back. She'll be able to be in front of you instead of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Very violent, very important comments. It definitely needs to be addressed. I checked quick, that's not a town-accepted road, it's a private road still, so I don't know how the legality of this matter comes in play. But you heard the councilor, these are all valid questions. So how you gonna, I know you have a case about that use variance, we would like to see eventually read it, but what's the hardship? How do you describe your variance?
We're substituting the federal disability laws for the hardship prong of the variance tests. Don't think of this as a variance in the traditional context of Chapter 48, Section 10. It's not. We're telling you that the disability laws substitute for the standard test for a variance, and that's why we're seeking a reasonable accommodation under those disability laws. So the test for a reasonable accommodation is whether or not, and it's in the memo that I provided dated June 20th, the question is whether or not the use is reasonable in the context of overloading municipal finances or having a derogatory effect on the town's zoning patterns and schemes. We're using an existing building for a medically related use. It's not something that is unreasonable in the context of the neighborhood. And that's pretty much where the federal law substitutes for the standard. Don't think of it in the context of soil condition, shape, topography, and hardship.
Well, do you have the case law you said, so we could take?
It's in the memo that I have on the web, on the your homepage.
All right, we'll have to have our attorney check it out.
Let me say in that regard, Mr. Chairman, that we've had a couple of pre-meetings, and council has been there at those, at least 2 meetings that we had before the site plan started to get developed. Also, the manager was there, and other officials. Mr. Buckland was there, a member of the Board of Selectmen was there. So this is not something we're just coming in tonight and telling you for the first time.
I know that.
I do have some things I'd like to put on the record. Some of these actually answer some of the questions. I'll give this to Sonia. If I might approach.
Sure, go ahead, please.
Mark, I also have packets for all of them that have some of, you have the letters?
These are the letters.
I have the letters and that sheet, and also some literature that explains who we are as an organization.
You want to get those?
Yeah, those
down?
packets, Danae has them right here. So, and actually, you don't need to pass those because they're all in that packet.
Okay.
So that'll help.
The other thing while this is being passed around is that this is a subject of 3 old special permits, and what we're trying to do is wipe those out. When it was a nursing home, it was first approved, I believe, in the late 80s, early 90s, and then there were 2 amendments to the special permit. So that's part of the package that I gave you as well.
Does this have any effect on the variance you're asking, the special permit?
Does it what?
Does it have any effect? You mentioning there was 3 special permits on that property.
Yeah.
Because it's an allowed use, that's
Well,
why.
that was to operate a nursing home.
Right.
And we're not, so we're swapping out the use as well. I'm just calling to your attention that there are 3 old special permits here.
So you made a remark about you had a couple of meetings, but I read here in the building inspector, the zoning officer says that Derek Sullivan did not attend such meeting for a phone call. So was he with 2 meetings, 1 meeting?
I recall the manager being at 2 meetings, and the town council was at 2 meetings. And I was at 2 meetings, and Mr. Hines was at 2 meetings. So those are the only meetings that I remember.
What was the outcome, Council? I mean, what you guys talked, what was the outcome?
Well, they're not the decision makers, but they were encouraging, largely because Gosnold's promised, and this is the sheet that you're getting out in your package, Gosnold's promised some impacts that are of positive nature to the town of Wareham. And just to highlight them, jobs, local business investment, increased local spending. Most importantly, there are many services that they'll provide with regard to community education and prevention, including school programs that will be offered to the Wareham children. And then lastly, there's some collaborative relationship with the police department, first responder training, partnership with ambulance services. There's a local preference that's being offered, priority access to care for Wareham residents who need the services. They'll have a leg up in terms of getting a bed. So all of these things were discussed with the manager, the town council, and the other municipal officials that attended the meetings.
Right, but all these benefits you talked about, it's gonna come on the expense of the neighbor who lives there, unfortunately.
If I may?
Yes, your name for the record.
Jack Hines, and I'm the manager of the LLC. We've had a number of meetings with the neighbors, and we've tried to address most or all of their concerns. Currently, there's 4 entrances to the property off of Forest Way. If you look at the plans, we've reduced that down to 1 entrance at the beginning, down near Indian Neck. There is 1 emergency exit that is gated up at the far end, so if the fire department comes in, that exit would just be for the fire department. We talked, as Bill said, we're putting a 3-foot wall with a 6-foot fence at the whole arc of Forest Way, and then we're planting landscaping in front of it, so we're trying to hide it somewhat from the neighborhood. Not hide it, but separate it from the neighborhood. We are, as far as the road is concerned, we are willing to put a new top coat on the road. It does need work, and we're willing to do that as part of this project. Again, the work, the concern about how long the work is going to take, we will do it as expeditiously as possible. What will affect the neighbors mostly would be the site work, so it's any drainage we have to put in and the paving for any additional parking and the fencing and stuff. There is interior work. We intend to add an additional, right now there's either a half bath in every unit or a half bath shared by every unit. They will all have private baths with showers added, so that'll be plumbing work inside. We're working on the HVAC, but the building was a nursing home, so it's kind of a similar use, so it lays out well. It's not like we're gutting the interior of the building. And that's why, the building makes sense to do it in that one of the reasons it makes sense to do it in that location.
What do you do inside is not our problem. Anyone else in the public want to speak on this matter?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
With regard to your question about where we go from here, I understand my brother, who spoke just a minute or two ago, is substituting for Jillian Morton this evening. I worked with her before on a number of matters here in town. I would suggest that we take the shopping list that was presented and we have a meeting with council where we try to iron out some of these things and bring back some suggestions to the board that are mutually agreed upon. Rather than have the board act as a mediator or a referee here at the outset of the process. None of those suggestions sounded completely unreasonable. I think we can find middle ground on the vast majority of them.
Jimmy, you want to say?
No, I'm listening. I'm getting it now, even though I asked if it's gated. You're going to put a 3-foot masonry wall and then a 6-foot fence on top of it.
Correct.
So
And they're gonna put the entrance, right, of Indian
when
Neck,
you
so
come
you
in,
don't go in the
when I
neighborhood.
come in on Forest Way right now, the very first right would be if I was driving the truck for Cisco and I was bringing all the cans of soup. And then if I wanted to go see a patient when they were in the nursing home, I'd drive right past that and go up and, you're gonna bring everybody in that one entrance.
Everybody
and
that
then
will be the only
turn in, And then
entrance.
they could take a quick left and get up into the parking lots.
Correct.
But they can escape out of the parking lot from other places.
The only way you'll be able to go out of the parking lot is there's an emergency exit at the top of the property for the fire department.
So it's
It's a gated,
Everybody's in and everybody's out from that one driveway,
correct.
but there'll be 2 or 3 others that firemen will gladly just drive a truck right through to put out a fire.
Yeah.
All right, I guess Alan Major will review the plan. We'll have comment by next time we're here. We'll do our homework, we talk to council.
The package that I put on behind my letter of June 20th contains an executive summary prepared by Gosnold. It gives you deep explanation of all of the programmatic aspects that they'll be running here. This is not a facility in which there's going to be administration of methadone to the general, to the general public in an early morning fashion. This is not a facility in which there's going to be counseling after hours. It's simply the number of beds and the number of patients seeking services.
Whatever your program is, my question and only question is the use variance from my attorney personally. That's what I'm going to ask with the town council. Yes, sir? You want to say
I
something?
just wanted to say that the outpatient program that the attorney said that we were going to locate in Wareham has been located in Plymouth and opened last week. So there'll be no outpatient services in Wareham.
And if we ever decided to change that, we'd have to come back to you, because you can easily put a condition in any permit that says this is for inpatient services only.
All right.
One other item, Gosnold is relocating all their executive offices into this building. So they're going to be working daily on the property. So it's not like I know with the nursing home, the neighbors said, they couldn't get in touch with people and they would have problems and they weren't addressed. They're going to all be working right on the property. So if somebody has a problem, all the executives are going to be right there.
So can I, just for a little bit of clarification, so Gosnold is moving out of Falmouth. Entire-
Our inpatient services are moving. We still will have outpatient services in Falmouth.
Okay,
But our
because everything that I was reading was saying expansion to Wareham, and I was confused by that.
We're relocating our inpatient services, detox and rehab, from Falmouth to Wareham.
But you'll have the outpatient
We have
services?
some outpatient services, which we own buildings in Falmouth. We'll maintain those buildings and continue to run services there, but not inpatient services. Those will be in Wareham.
And then outpatient, it will be in Plymouth as well?
Plymouth, Devons, Nantucket, we have in Stoughton, Hyannis. We have a bunch of outpatient clinics all over located.
So is your only inpatient facility in Falmouth right now?
That's correct.
And the reason that you're moving is?
Our facilities are outdated. It's hard finding staff on the Cape. This will give us more competitive services. It's a newer building, better services for our patients.
I should point out that in the package that was just handed out to you, there are 15 or 20 letters of recommendation from other companies, municipal officials who have done business with Gosnold before. They're for you to take a look at.
One of them is from CEO of Cape Cod Hospital. Falmouth Hospital is located. We've been a neighbor of Falmouth Hospital for 52 years. And as you can see, we've had no issues. None of our neighbors have complained. We've had no adverse incidents. People walking in, breaking in houses, peeing on their lawns, dropping needles. That's not happened. We don't have that.
All right, board comments before we continue?
What's your success rate on patients?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. So the recidivism rate is somewhere about 25 to 30%. So those are the patients who return back. It's hard to tell how many patients are actually successful out there because we don't know if they're going to other facilities. But we see very few people return to Gosnold.
Okay, thanks.
I want to make one comment, if you don't mind. The attorney talks about, and it's particularly bothersome to me when he talks about those people. I mean, these are our people. These are our family members. These are our brothers, our sisters, our kids. There's not a person in this room or anywhere out that doesn't have a family member or a friend who's affected by this. 52 years we've been doing this business. We're a nonprofit. We're mission-driven. We run services that aren't reimbursed, that are under-reimbursed. I mean, we do it because we know what's best for these patients.
We do understand, and our heart goes out for these people. And like you said, any of us have family, friend, but we have a responsibility here to protect the people of Wareham. That's where we come in.
I understand.
And we totally understand. I know God love you for what you do. It's a hard job, but here, that's where we are. So let's continue. When you guys will not come back, is Alan Major here? Is Phil here? Phil?
He's hiding behind the...
How much time you need to review that?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. All right. When do you guys want to come back to discuss?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. All right. That's quick.
This guy really wants to retire.
My wife retired July 1st. I gotta
Unless
catch
I
up.
take him to court. All right, so before we go to continue, anyone else in this room want to add something or on Zoom? Amanda? All right, can we get a motion to continue this matter?
Yeah, so moved.
We have a motion.
You had that's not in here, your little pack.
The things I had are part of that.
We have a motion to continue 36-24 Indian Neck Property LLC for 50 Indian Neck Road till August 14, 2024 by Jim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Richard. All in favor say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
And myself, Nazi, aye. See you on the 14th.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chair, just a
Thank you.
point of clarity, it's 3 weeks from now.
Huh?
Just point of clarity, it's 3 weeks from now.
3 weeks, it's...
There's
July 31.
There's an extra week in there, so it's not going to be in 2 weeks, it'll be in 3
Okay,
weeks.
on the 14th.
Yep, just wanted people to know that. Don't show up here in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. All right, let's move to 35-24. people with the
You
power.
guys keeping these
N-Star.
things?
37 Dottie
So this
Street.
part, if you don't...
I don't know about you, but
Both lost our bobby pins.
I wouldn't want it in
Come
my
with
neighborhood.
me.
I didn't have one.
This is coming with me. God help
Oh, I
us in
have.
this project. This is coming with me.
Maybe this
You
is,
guys home and
maybe
read
this
all
is it.
that?
I wanna try in the airplane.
Huh?
In the
It
airplane.
gives you something to do in the airplane. There you go.
And I'll see, wanna see the... All right, guys, wanna pass these stuff?
You want
Whatever
to keep these things?
You holding on to yours?
Yeah, you guys should keep that.
You can keep that if you want.
I'm sorry.
I want these back. Any more of this? Any more plans? You want to keep the plans?
Are those the plans underneath it?
Keep the plans, put it in your folder.
All right.
I just want to get it all put away before... All right.
Oh, no. You're all set.
Nothing else on that one? That you're keeping all that?
I'd really mess you up if I gave you 2 weeks ago stuff that I have right here.
What's that?
Yeah, that's nice.
You want to put something from two... Yeah, that'll really screw up the box, won't it? Okay, so that was 3624, and we want 3524. We doing N-Star next?
Yes.
And he said it's all this.
Maybe I didn't give mine back. Jim's gonna hate me. It don't matter, I'll forgive him.
This is
Trust your judgment.
Doobie. Doobie brother. Doobie, the ones that they have the taxi.
This is why we have Phil for these plans.
That's why we have Phil. No, this is, create so much paperwork, they can't possibly read it all and never get a...
He's trying to comply with the requirements.
I'm
You know,
gonna share that.
overwhelm, you can't be on, are you,
I'm just gonna share that.
okay, no, okay.
Let me just real quick.
I can look with Chris.
All right. I just wanna look at one paper.
How much of this was created by AI?
How much of this is, I don't know.
Zero?
AI is long-winded, no.
Probably supposed to summarize.
That's a good point.
Oh, this is the old theater.
Yes. Let's hear it, Jim.
Okay. You're waiting for me to read it in, I'm sorry. And it's what, 35? I'm trying to get my head wrapped around what we're listening to, and you want to listen to me. Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on July 24th, 2024 at 6:30 PM in room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 35-24 for a special permit, a variance, and site plan review from the requirements of Article 10, Section 1062, and Article 15, Section 1520 of the Wareham zoning bylaws to N-Star Electric Company, doing business as Eversource Energy, of 247 Station Drive, Westwood, Mass., proposing the redevelopment of the cinema site into an Eversource training facility, including indoor and outdoor training areas with associated parking, landscaping, utility, and stormwater improvements located at 37 Doty Street, Assessors Map 103, lots A1, B1, C1, and D1 in the Commercial Strip zoning district.
All right, gentlemen, names and addresses.
All right, great. Thank you. My name's Brian Potvin with Civil and Environmental Consultants. I'm the civil engineer for the project.
Ron Miller, CHK Architects, 573 Hot Meadow, Simsbury, Connecticut.
Jason St. Martin, Manager Facilities Operations for Eversource, 247 Station Drive, Westwood.
All right.
All right, great.
Yours.
So I'll tell a little story of the history of the project. Back, actually, about a year or so ago, early in July, we met with town staff, police, fire,
building department, planning, conservation, talking about the redevelopment of the former cinema project, which Eversource purchased the property a few years ago, looking to repurpose the property, the vacant cinema, reusing almost in its entirety the existing building footprint and constructing a new training center indoor. In addition to that redevelopment, they'll included 2 areas in front of the existing parking lot and off to the side of the existing parking lot. The plans are behind me here, as outdoor training areas. So this is primarily a training facility. There's a ancillary use that Eversource would also plan to use this location during emergency response situations as a place,
Staging area?
staging area for their line trucks in emergency situations to hit places that, such as the Cape or in southeastern Massachusetts during emergencies. So the training portion of that would be closed during those times. So we presented a site plan review application to the planning board, had several discussions about the technical improvements. We're improving the stormwater management system. We're reutilizing the existing parking area, and we're reutilizing the existing utility connections and making other site improvements. Had several meetings. The town's review engineer reviewed the submittal documents, provided comments. We had responded to those comments. We received actually 3 rounds of comments from the town peer reviewer, Alan Major, Mr. Cordero, and we responded to those comments. And at the last meeting a couple of months ago, the planning board determined that a variance was required, and that they could not waive that for the, as part of the emergency response function. The existing site has internal parking lot landscaped islands that separate horizontally the parking bays. For the emergency response situation, that doesn't work well for Eversource. They want the line trucks and vehicles to be able to come through and travel in an organized way through the parking lot, but we're requesting a variance to remove those parking lot islands. We're looking to preserve as much of the existing vegetation around the site and inside the site to the maximum extent possible, but those internal islands are an issue with the emergency response function.
People that build snowplows love them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I'm happy to walk through, kind of the technical components of the proposal if you are interested. I had mentioned earlier that the building footprint remains the same, except for the addition of a very small bump out to allow for emergency access for a second floor that's being built as the indoor training facility, as part of the indoor training facility. The project, we submitted notice of intent application with the Conservation Commission, and we received the order of conditions back in the fall, if not winter, of last year. And we also, Eversource received a building permit to work on the inside of the building. And those improvements are underway and have been for the past several months.
All right, so you basically, apparently you're not a movie theater or retail. You don't have customers walking in and you have to have island. The trucks gotta move in quickly. You can't use these islands, period. That's what you want from us.
Correct.
I recommend that we just concentrate on the variance. Planning board already beat them up, let them deal with the site plan. And so that's the only variance you need from us.
That is the variance, but we're also asking for site plan review. We withdrew our application
with the planning board.
With the planning board for site plan review.
Okay, so we gotta follow that.
We gotta do the whole thing.
With the whole thing. All right, one thing, you already have a 53G account. Alan Major already reviewed it.
Yes.
Okay.
3 times.
All right, we'll talk to Phil in a minute, but let's run some questions. Troy, Veronica.
No, I don't have any questions yet.
Jimmy?
No, I think I agree with you. Give them the variance on the islands, get them out of there. I don't like them anywhere, never mind.
You don't like that bill?
Huh?
You don't like paying that bill?
I don't like, you know, the only thing I don't like is going down Doty Road and having my East Coast mirrors get all them branches in them because they could mow the side of the road better, but, no, I'm good, and as far as site plan review, if they've talked with Alan Majors, maybe we can, move this thing along a little quicker.
Yes. Richard?
Nothing.
Chrissy?
No, I agree. I don't like islands either in the middle of the parking lot.
Phil, you want to come forward, buddy? Thank you. All right, just your name and address for the record,
Sure, Phil Cordero, Allen and Major Associates.
and if you just tell us the things that you didn't agree on, that's it. What is it, the stuff, it's stuck?
So we put them through their paces with multiple peer reviews. They satisfied everything to the satisfaction of us and both the planning board. Really what it comes down to, Mr. Chair, is they still have a parking lot, and the planning board couldn't grant them relief from the landscape requirements of 1062. That was the only open item left.
Okay, board, you heard it.
So did you come up with a landscape plan?
They have a detailed landscape plan. It was in the package that I saw. I presume it's carried forward
Stamp.
to here. They're doing new landscaping along the front of the property. We've had them extend it through the entirety of the frontage. They did a great job for what they could do. Inside the site, because it's an operational infrastructure-based site, there'll be very little landscaping.
No more bamboo on Doty Road?
No.
As a utility, aren't you exempt from the rules, or no? No, seriously, you're not exempt from the rules and regulation?
I believe the exemption applies to sort of the substations and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But this is
Because
different.
this is a training facility, we're coming forth in front of you guys to say this is what we're planning.
All right, anyone in the public want to speak in favor or against this matter? In favor or against? On Zoom, nobody. Go back to the board, what do you think, Troy?
I don't have an issue.
Fine.
I have an issue.
What is it?
So there's a lot of greenery and vegetation. One of the things that I can't stand about utility places that I look at them is I see all tar in a building, every time. And it looks like every piece of vegetation that prevents this property from looking like that is going to change, and it's going to look like that. And it's very visible from the street once you remove all of the vegetation that's at the street, which is what looks like is the plan. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm looking at these two things. Right here, it's all green. Right here, it's completely gone. So driving by that property, it's gonna be an eyesore, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm okay with removing these islands in the center parking lot for the flow, but I'm not okay with getting rid of this vegetation that blocks the street from having to look at that, all that tar.
Our intention is to preserve, of course, we can't do anything with the vegetation that exists within the Doty Street right-of-way, so we look to preserve that, of course. And then anything within about a 10-foot or 15-foot offset from the property boundary, not from the edge of Doty Street, would be preserved.
Let me ask you something, can you plant like giant arborvitaes, giant greens along Doty Street to prevent the view? Maybe start with the 6-8 footers?
We did extend the proposed landscaping on this part of Doty Street.
What kind of landscaping?
It's,
I mean, is it evergreen, regular, how high it goes? I understand Veronica's concern. We'd rather not see it if possible.
So we're proposing plantings on the property right along the edge. And so this is a combination of evergreens and deciduous trees, but mostly evergreen tree plants.
How high these trees would go?
So will it screen it?
So this is gravel.
These are like 2.5-inch caliper trees that are 6 to 7 foot high.
That's not too bad, that's pretty
No,
good.
I know, that's a good sign, yeah.
all along here, and then we continued that theme in here. We'll preserve all of the trees, of course, that go
Right.
along Doty Street between the edge of pavement and the property boundary. Those will stay, and we'll supplement those with plantings all in through here. We're happy to make those more dense or add more trees along this boundary as needed. And this, just to point out, the paved parking area is here. This is an outside gravel training area, so there'll be like concrete pads and things and like utility poles to replicate real-life conditions for folks being trained out and through here. So it's gravel, and the whole site will have a fence around it.
Veronica, did you hear they're willing to do more intense trees?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see more of a buffer, and I guess we would have to say how much.
Every how far you put a tree in front?
These are spaced pretty dense. This is, that's about every 10 feet per scale here. So we've got total count of,
What do you like to see, Mark? Every 6 feet instead?
I actually,
30 plantings along
I'd like to
this
hear what
edge.
Phil has to say, what he would suggest for that, because,
right.
I mean, it's going from, it's a beautiful piece of property right
I
now,
know.
and it's,
Well, somebody gotta fix those lines when they break in the hurricane. Go ahead, Phil.
So they are planting a lot of pines, which should fill in, I would say 8 feet on center would be the minimum, because those want to grow together. If he's at 10 feet, as the engineer has pointed out, that's within reason. But then also certainly plant in between with serviceberry and shrubbery material that can grow into those plants take hold, till those trees take hold and grow.
that's like, is it like an arborvitae? I don't know of.
It's not an arborvitae, but it's a pine tree. You know, it's a Christmas tree, is what you'll, excuse me.
Like
you'll see.
Colorado spruce, those.
Yeah, I like the arborvitae, like, for instance, at your yard.
Yeah.
That creates an actual fence. They grow, and you don't see between to have to look at.
So the emerald green arborvitae grows
they're the
very
same.
thick and very
Emerald green
quickly.
the same.
So if you'd prefer that, it can accomplish the same.
Yeah, can you swap to, you doing emerald greens?
We're happy to make
Yeah,
that
just do emerald greens.
whatever you want.
Rich, what do you think?
Oh, I'm good. Natural fence is the best.
Chrissy?
I'm fine.
All right, so what do you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, they have to have a,
So if we are to close and grant, are you willing to do the emerald greens along?
Yes.
Yes, would that be part of the stipulation? Yes.
If that's the case, let's move.
so
Go ahead, Veronica.
I just want to be clear, so that we all also, because this is what I'm looking at, and I'm trying to make heads or tails of it, and look at this. So riding along Doty Street and then Route 58, what's going to change at Route 58? Anything much? Because it looks like things are changing from this to that.
Could I suggest, so the graphics that you're looking at are the pre-post kind of stormwater maps. It's not
Okay.
necessarily meant to represent the landscaping plan. I'll
Something
point
else
you
in
to
here?
sheet C700, where you can see the specific, on the plan set, on the site plans.
Want me to open this up for you?
That would be great. Yeah.
On Route 58, we're
She has solar, she don't care.
She has solar?
Yeah, she don't care about and stuff.
You have a generator when the power goes out? You
No,
have
I
power?
still rely on the electric company.
One of the things we do, gonna point out, along Route
There
58,
you go.
nothing's changing there. for
Nothing is
vegetation.
changing there?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then along base of the highway, we're not changing anything there either for vegetation.
Okay, yeah, because it was hard for me to see, and that's what we were trying to figure out, if that was drainage, or if that, what is that?
Look at sheets C700. You can see the specific plans.
C7.
And we did review that along 58, they're not changing the tree line through there. There's no work proposed.
It's pretty much down, like, as it comes over the bridge to the Doty Street. You pretty much can't see anything between the fence and that anyway, from what I remember pulling in and out of there.
There is some grade change.
You look real
The site
hard,
is
you'll
lower.
But once you make the turn, you guys are taking care of that from the corner all the way.
If you look real hard, you'll find in amongst all them trees an old sign that says Flagship Theater. But it's hard to see.
So what's the answer? I'm reading remove vegetation here.
Just wanted to point out where Eversource is going to take the big pylon sign down as well as part of the project. It's not shown on the plans, but the sign that you're talking
Gonna
about.
go.
It's gonna go.
It's gonna go away.
So this is, Phil, this is saying that there's gonna be vegetation removed, right,
It's
along 58?
There is so if you're looking at sheet 700 on their plan, the lower left corner where their gravel work pad zone is, they are cutting the tree line back a few feet right in that location, and it'll blend in along the rest of the line out there. But there is a healthy stand of trees within the right-of-way that's going to stay.
This is not Route 58. This is their property line. But 58 is
Is
off the
over there.
page. Correct? Correct.
Yeah, but it's the same. It's the same. Their property line is the right-of-way.
Okay.
You good, Veronica?
Yes, thank you.
All right, that being said, what's the wishes of the board? On close, what do you want to?
I do have a question, though.
Yes, go ahead. What's your question?
What was this supposed to convince us of? Because I'm looking at this, all this,
We're trying to give you the history where we came from.
Oh, the report is just to meet the requirement, the site plan review
Yeah.
requirements. That's the stormwater report.
oh,
It's actually looks
meant for me.
Phil reviewed
Thanks, Phil.
Phil reviewed that.
That's why we pay Phil the big bucks.
That's what Phil's been dealing with all these meetings that we didn't go to.
Does the 53G account go by weight to their applications?
That's good.
'Cause I gotta tell you,
wood stove?
that's worth an extra 10,000 right there.
Oh, I thought that was, oh, anyway. So
Let's move.
I make a motion to approve.
To
this-
close. Let's close.
Well, oh, yeah, I can't, okay, I'll make a motion to close the public portion of this hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Troy. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Nazi, aye. It's closed. Okay, wishes on the variance as presented.
So regarding the variance, I make a motion to grant the variance and grant relief on those.
With the condition
Snowplow
to
bridges.
swap with emerald greens on the front, correct?
That's, would be part of the site plan approval, not part of the variance.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, we'll do it site plan after. All right, on the variance, good move, good catch. On the variance with Jim as presented, do I have a second on the variance?
Second.
Second by Rich, all in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And myself, Nazi, aye. So the variance out of the way. On site plan review,
So now I make a motion that we grant approval of the site plan with additional conditions that trees that were discussed be substituted with arborvitae, what do you want?
emerald greens.
Greens?
Emerald greens along Dottie Street, correct? All right, motion by Jim, do I have a second?
Just one thing, is there a landscape architect that's gonna be stamping any of this? Do we need that?
It's already on the set.
It is?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Rich, all in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Greens,
And myself, aye, it carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Very well, that carries. Next public hearing, 34-24, Ferris Realty Group on 3037 Cranberry Highway. I have a conflict in this, I'll sit in the back. Jimmy, take over. Chris, it's on my seat.
But you can stay over there, Chris, you don't have to come over there.
Thanks.
All right.
Got his vote. Okay, so I gotta read this thing in, don't I?
Wait a minute.
Before I
We gotta
do,
give that.
you keep, thank you.
Sorry, Chris's went back the right way, but Nazi seemed to mess mine all up,
Oh,
so I don't
that's
want any
not-
complaints that
As
mine
long as
falls
this one that says,
You shouldn't burn that. Clogs your chimneys.
That's it?
Paper.
that's part of the Reduction of Paper Act, they used to have to provide 8 or 11 of those.
This is the variance that you guys approved tonight. Take a look at it.
It's all digital now, but we have to have a hard copy.
One is enough.
Yeah, that's, we got one. That's one set of plans.
I'm just going to just use it as a
That's just one.
That's what I used to use.
Oh, yeah, that's it. That hearing is closed.
One, two, there you go, buckle my shoe. 3, 4. Here you go, guys. Shut the door. Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on July 24th, 2024 at 6:30 PM in room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571. To consider petition 34-24 for numerous variances, a special permit, and site plan review from the requirements of Article 3, Table 320, Article 6, Table 623, Article 3, Article 9, Table 920, Article 10, Table 1040, and Article 15, Section 1520. To Faz Realty Corp., Cape Cod Gas, care of Brian Grady, RS of GAF Engineering, Inc., of 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass., proposing to raise and construct a new gas station / convenience store with drive-through located at 3037 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass. Assessors map 12, lot LC 10.A in the Commercial Strip zoning district. So that's a lot of Article 3, Article 6, Article 3, Article 9, da-da-da-da-da. Numerous variances. Tell us about all these variances, please.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Grady, GAF Engineering. Yeah, there are a number of variances. I guess what I would like to do tonight is concentrate on the variances and maybe put off the site plan review for another evening, assuming that the variances you feel are appropriate, because without the use and the variances, we don't get to the site plan review.
So you need to know where we are on the variances before you can really do a good site plan.
Correct.
Okay.
So
what do you need?
What do I need? Well, there's a number of things going on. I don't know how familiar or in-depth you got with the plans or the application. This property's at 3037 Cranberry Highway. It's adjacent to Waterways, and the property on the east side is Lou's Automotive Muffler Brake Shop, next to where the old Hong Kong City was. So maybe you're all familiar with it. We need a bit of relief. I'll just summarize the relief that we need, and that's in the building commissioner's letter. Well, let me just start quick with a summary of the project. They're going to raise the existing gas station and construct a new convenience store with fuel dispensing. Pretty standard these days for what you see. And it will have a drive-through window. So the relief we need to accomplish that is, first of all, the drive-through window is not allowed in the CS district. Also, and as elaborated in the commissioner's letter, the convenience store is a new use. And under the definition in zoning, neighborhood grocery store is an allowed use in this district, but under the definition, it states that convenience stores shall not include fuel pumps or the selling of fuel for motor vehicles. Why that's there, I don't know, but it's there, so we need relief from that as well. We also need relief for density and dimensional regulations, impervious surface coverage on the lot. 65% is allowed. When completed, this project will have 76%. We're also requesting relief from the number of parking spaces. We have a little bit of a disagreement with the commissioner on this. The convenience store of this size requires 14 parking spaces. We believe we're showing 14, but we've allowed for 6 of those spaces to be at the fuel dispensers. counting those as the parking spaces. We feel that's a common occurrence as well. People pull up to the fuel dispenser.
Pet peeve of mine, but go ahead.
They pull up to the fuel dispenser, park, fill up with gas, maybe go into the store, pay for the gas, or pick up some items. So we have counted those as parking spaces. I don't think that's a new occurrence here in town. We also are requesting relief for landscape buffer. If you've been by the site, there really is no landscape buffer to speak of except partially behind the building. There's no buffer in front. There's no buffer to the east. There's no buffer to the west with waterways. It's wide open gravel. A little bit of the Wild West if you've been by during a hot summer day. So that's the relief and the variances that we're requesting. Rest of it kind of gets into the special permit site plan aspect of it. Some of the rationale and the reason I believe that these variances are warranted in this situation. A couple of things, just kind of going back in time. This lot was created in 1963, about the time that the gas station was constructed. The assessors has the gas station as being constructed in 1960. So it's 60-plus years old, and we're trying to bring it into the year 2024. As I said, the adjacent properties, it's a commercialized area. That strip of Route 28, very commercial. This type of use would not be out of line for the neighborhood. There are no wetlands on the site, but there is a wetland directly abutting the property to the rear. So we are subject to a 50-foot no-activity zone and a 100-foot buffer zone, and we are making an application to Conservation Commission. So the reason why I think these variances, the granting of these are warranted is the property and the business has been severely impacted by the reconstruction of Route 28, specifically the construction of the center island. I'm told that since that time, approximately half of their business has been lost. So we think that in order for this business to survive at this location, they need to modernize and provide all the amenities associated with a service station, convenience store, drive-through. Again, not out of line, in my opinion, for that stretch of road. Drive-through windows, although not allowed in the zone, there's a number of them in the direct area. Burger King, McDonald's, there's a D'Angelo's, KFC, Taco Bell has combined in a building there, and there's even an Eastern Bank.
I believe, isn't there a Thai food place? Is that a drive-through too next door?
I don't think so. You can drive around the building, but I don't think there's a window in the back. I'm not sure. You
I
could
think
be
they
right.
do have one.
Do they have one window in the back?
They do, yeah. But
So it's, again, it's not out of line for the neighborhood, even though it's not an allowed use. So things that impact this property is, again, it's the Route 28 reconstruction, the center median. There was a land taking associated with the reconstruction, so I believe upwards of 10 feet of this property was taken as part of the reconstruction. The adjacent wetland on the property in the back, again, it's not on the property, but it's directly behind us. So that 50-foot no-activity zone impacts our ability to utilize fully the property. That's a no-activity zone subject to Wareham Conservation Commission bylaw, and we're not showing any activity honoring that 50-foot no-activity zone, but what that does is the land taking in the front and the 50-foot no-activity zone in the back kind of squeezes what we have available to us. So in the absence of being able to stretch out lengthwise, we've kind of had to go widthwise, which is why it impacts the landscape buffers on either side. To be able to get the development in there, we've had to impact into the landscape buffers. We are providing some areas where there are no landscape buffers. In the front, we're providing a small landscaped area. On the west side, is it? Waterways, where there are none, we'll be providing a 5 to 7 to 8 foot buffer.
Right now, there's none, and you'll be adding 5, is that?
Right. Where there is none, we'll be providing a little bit. Won't fully comply with the 10 foot, but we will have something.
I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. By memory, this property has an easement right across, a triangular easement right across the front of the Waterways parking lot, or what used to be the Hong Kong Island property.
There's an easement providing access.
And that's going to continue to exist?
Correct.
I'm looking at this plan here. It looks like they're going to, the curb cut that somebody coming from the north heading south, or from the west heading east, in that lane, the only way they can be traveling, they turn right, they're going to turn right into a curb cut over on the now Waterways parking lot, and then come into this parking lot? Is that what I'm seeing? Is that what this is?
That easement has been and will continue to be
So you
the
can't
access
put
for the
any
site.
landscape buffer there?
Correct,
And then when they're time to go, they leave at the other end, over at the other corner, I get it.
correct,
So you can't put any landscape buffer there?
correct. We are behind the easement, and what's needed for the access is where the landscape buffer will begin, and that will help direct and focus in the vehicular pattern for the site where there is none now, because as you know, there's pylons and rope currently there to direct traffic.
So, somebody gets at Waterways all day that wants to fill up before they leave, they'll be able to get in here, no problem, get their fill up, and then the only thing is they can't take that illegal left turn back onto
I
Cranberry.
haven't seen the plans for Waterways, what their access egress is going to be, so I don't,
Yeah.
if it's through that double entrance they have, they just come out, take a right, and then take another immediate right into the station. I don't think there'll be direct access from the Waterways site to here, but I haven't seen the
Yeah, I get
development
it.
plans for
Okay.
Waterways.
Okay, so obviously you need to go through a whole site plan review, and we can't, and we're gonna have to get Alan and Majors to torture you with that. And you guys can go back and forth on that. So what you're really looking for us tonight is to go through these potential variances. So if you don't mind, 320 principal use, non-food drive-through establishment, says we need a variance. So one of the things you're looking for is a variance to allow you to have a drive-through.
Correct.
You guys, anybody have any objections to a drive-through at this location where there's 7 or 8 others in the neighborhood?
No.
I'm just trying to give this guy some kind of an indication. Are we gonna put them, they can't design the site if they don't know they can have a drive-through.
I feel like it's a lot going on the lot. It's not a huge lot, and they're trying to jam everything they possibly can onto it, is what it looks like.
So the question would be, the drive-through, why, is that necessary? Are they serving fast food?
Well, they don't
mean-
have a tenant yet, but probably like a Dunkin' or something along those
I
natures.
guess Dunkin' or
It's not going to be a Burger King,
Starbucks.
McDonald's, KFC, none of that. It's just a Dunkin' or something along those lines.
Coffee window. When you're heading north, you can go to Dunkin'. When you're heading south, you can go to Mary Lou's. Or maybe it'll be Dunkin'. Makes perfect sense to me. I figured Dunkin' would try to grab the old Wendy's just because the road's getting split, but Waterways got it. So it's gone. So there's not a lot of opportunities for that. I personally, I don't think it's any secret to the world that I think drive-throughs are, especially during the pandemic, if that didn't prove it, drive-throughs are not a bad thing. I think it's good, you know, you pull in, you scream at a screen, You drive to the next window, they throw a bunch of food at you, you give them some money or a credit card, and you leave, you know?
Yeah, as you stated, it's not uncommon for
What a great- yeah,
for
what a
this stretch
great way
of
to-
Route 28, but to Veronica's point that there's a lot going on here.
I think it's, you know, I'm for the drive, I'm personally, it's just, I want to know if the rest of the board is inclined to grant the variance on the drive-through, because we can just check our way through this list here. How do you, you don't have a, Veronica?
I possibly with changes to what's actually there, and I mean significant changes, because I'm not good with, maybe if the size of the building was decreased so that there could actually be some kind of vegetation put in there. I don't know.
Well, that was going to be my point, not to interrupt you. You're saying there's a lot going on here. Well, we've already kind of put a small building in there. If we had the room to work with, yes, this building would be larger. So we've already kind of shrunk the building to accommodate the convenience, the cashier for the fuel dispensing, and a small area for the drive-through window. If you look at the plans, we have 2 lanes going around the building. We have the drive-through lane and we have a bailout lane. So that takes up a little bit of room, but we think that's a necessity. So as it's laid out on the site, it works because we have already kind of decreased the size of the store.
Chris, how do you feel about the drive-through?
So it looks like there's going to be like a menu thing right in the back where you would order, and then you'd pick up on the side, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a menu board along the side and then, or along the back, and then you have the pickup window on the far end of the building.
Looks like there's plenty of room to stack vehicles if, you know, plenty of people, if the coffee's that good or the service is that slow. Rich, what do you think about a drive-through? Staring at it?
Kind of torn. I'm kind of torn.
Okay, torn?
I mean, the drive-through seems to be taking up quite a bit of the lot. Whereas we're talking about trying to have the amount of parking spaces that we're supposed to have. Yes, I agree that you can get gas and then walk in. But how many people would be getting gas that want, I mean, the average of people pulling in to get gas and walking in, I don't know how many times that happens, but. I don't have anything at this time, but
Well,
I have to listen to the rest of the board.
Let's move along. The next one that they're looking for, the new use convenience stores allowed in the commercial strip zone, but by definition, the convenience store shall not be associated with the pre-existing use fuel dispensary. So, I look at Noria and I look at
Yeah,
whatever,
that's-
that Sun and all that.
That's a thing. Nobody else has ever come before us and said, like Noria, when they went in, that wasn't,
It wasn't,
is
yeah.
this a new rule?
Well, there's a new sheriff in town.
No, it's not. No, but it's not a new sheriff.
Yeah,
That
well-
sheriff was here when Noria came before us, wasn't he?
Was it?
I
Was it the
believe
same?
so,
Was
no?
it? No.
No?
I think it was a different person. I
How
think,
did Cumberland, remember, all the gas stations used to have
Yeah,
convenience stores.
so what do you think? We should close them all down or let this guy have one?
I'm fine with that myself. I'm fine with that, with the convenience store.
You're fine with the gas and the
The
convenience?
convenience store.
Yeah. You know, most times you go to Taco Bell, you get gas whether you pump it or eat it. So you might as well get gas here too, you know? So what about you guys? How do you feel about convenience and fuel?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, so we can kind of give that one a good check. Got to circle around back to the drive-through here. We could put car hops in there and get rid of the drive-through window and put them on roller skates, and, you know.
I hate to say it, but I think. the
Lorenzo's, remember the day back in
causes all the
Lorenzo's?
other variances to be needed.
You think the drive-through is the only thing that's causing all the, what's
Yeah,
the next one?
Because the 65% coverage, impervious coverage, the parking spaces, and the buffer. That's like 4 things caused by that drive-through. That's just a lot of activity on that lot. It's not that big.
It is kind of a small lot, I can't deny that, but I just don't.
So that would be my sticking point. If
I'm pro drive-through, so you guys have gotta, you know, you gotta either outvote me or I gotta convince you. But,
Well, we think the drive-through is an important component of the project.
I think it's real important, yeah.
It's pretty standard for convenience store, fuel dispensing, drive-through. Yes, it's on a small, undersized lot. Some of these coverages would drop a few percentage points maybe if the state hadn't taken some of the land for the Route 28 widening. With the restriction in the back from the 50-foot no activity zone, that also impacts our ability in the landscape buffer. And we think we're actually improving the landscape buffer because we currently really have none. So we are making improvements to the landscape buffer. We're also making other improvements to the site with the new project. As I said, it's approaching 70 years old, this building. Everything's going to be removed. The fuel tanks will be removed. There'll be state-of-the-art tanks and containment put in as part of that. There's currently no stormwater management on the site whatsoever. We'll be providing stormwater management. So we think those are some positives, quite large positives for the site development.
So I'm looking, Brian, help me. Okay, here we go. Landscaping and lighting plan. That's page 8. Are these little Mercedes-Benz signals, are those supposed to be trees?
That is
Are they
correct.
Huh?
Correct.
Okay, so you got, what are those? Those look like, what are they?
Those are arborvitaes.
Those are arborvitae?
Yep.
Are they emerald greens?
Emerald
We
arborvitaes.
like emerald greens.
That's
We
what
like
they are.
emerald greens.
So we have those proposed on the east and west sides. If you go to the existing conditions, I think you know what's occurring on the Waterways side, but
On
the easterly side with the Lou's Automotive, you'll see at the front, the pavement pretty much goes up to the property line, and the fence enclosing the rear of the property, very close to the property line and goes over the property line a little bit in the back. And so we're pulling that pavement away from that property line, and we'll be providing some landscaping there.
So how come on that east side, you've got them, like, from the street all the way back to the do not enter line there, where they're coming out, where the bailout line is and everything, and then they just stop? How come they just don't keep on going?
Well, there's a concrete wall there, if you see those
Oh, it's hard to grow
rectangular
trees in
blocks.
concrete?
Well, they could cause problems if they get taller with the roots.
Okay, the roots will...
Right, so we stop them where the wall begins.
So is that where the building is? So there'll be like, does the muffler shop act as like a bit of a screen because it's just a big side of a...
Yeah, all their activity occurs on the other side of the building.
Yeah,
the
it's like the
opposite
back of
side
their
the
building there.
Correct, so it's the back of their building.
And then on the west side, you've got it going quite a ways, and then you break so that people could peek through and see the residents on the Waterways property, but that's about it. I guess this is where your dumpster's gonna be?
Correct, dumpster in the back. So again, on the westerly side, the Waterways side, proposing after the access begins with the easement access, proposing the arborvitae's, and those will stop where that block wall begins.
Then I see smaller ones out on the street there. I don't imagine those are gonna be 65-footers.
No, those would be low-growing shrubs and annuals, so they don't interfere with the sight distance.
But you're doing that where there's currently pavement, so you are ripping out some pavement.
Yes, they'll be ripping out some pavement, so where there is no landscaping right now, we're providing somewhat of an island of low-growing shrubs and annuals.
I'm trying to visualize the size of this. You know the Circle K up by the old entrance, up to the entrance to the Home Depot? Right there where you go into Home Depot, there's a gas station with a...
Yep.
Is this building about the same size as that building? Just trying to get some scale.
Yeah, there are no dimensions that I
Because it
can
looks
see
like
on
it's a
here.
lot bigger out front here than that.
32 by 65.
It's 3265, it's 2,080 square feet.
Okay.
I'm not sure of the dimensions of that station you're
Okay.
talking about.
65 seems pretty big.
So it's three stations, 6 cars here. That's what it is, 3 sets of pumps,
Correct?
and you pump from either side. So there's 6 spaces there. 7, 8. You count handicap as some of the parking?
Yes.
9, 10, 11. How many places did you say you need?
14.
And you got them, or you don't have them?
Well, there's 6 at the dispensers, 6 in front of the store, and 2 behind the store.
I'd like to visit
Where are the ones
site.
behind the store? I don't s-
I think they're by the dumpster, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Oh, okay. So you don't expect anybody to hang around very long. They're gonna get their stuff and they're gonna go, they're gonna get their fuel and they're gonna go. It's not a big convenience store where people are going in there and waiting for them to cook them a pizza or anything. It's
Correct.
a coffee and a donut and get out of here. Yeah, I get it.
So if I'm looking at this, you can pull up to the pumps, but you can still go around the pumps towards Cranberry Highway, though, if somebody's blocking you, right?
Yeah,
'Cause I
pull
got
up to the
14
pumps. but-
14 feet and then 13.
Yeah, there's 24 feet from the landscape island at the store to the edge of the concrete underneath the canopy.
Yep.
So people parked at the dispensers will not interfere with through traffic.
So yeah, you can go on either side of them. I get it. Yep.
Jim, that Circle K looks like it's 60 by 38.
What is it?
60 by 38.
60 by 38, the building? Okay.
Give or take a few feet on either one of those.
32 by 65. It says 65 by 32.
It'll be slightly larger than what we're proposing here.
Seems kind of, I would have to think about how big some of the other ones are, because I feel like part of the problem is the size of the building. And then you have 3 pumps. That's an easement, that easement is on Waterwood's property, right? It says there's an easement right here at the top of that, so they can go in from Waterwood's into this.
That's how access has
That's
always
their-
been,
that's
and that's
their
how
way
it is
in.
now, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the curb cut for this place is over there. But they're gonna come in that way. Waterways isn't gonna park cars there. Correct?
No, they can't interfere with their rights through the easement, correct.
They put cars anywhere.
Well, I know they, it looks like it's pretty much under, I've been watching, because I know they're gonna be in front of us, I've been watching, they run a pretty good show over there.
Veronica, are you familiar? I think it's is it Honoria out by the Walmart? The intersection where Walmart is? And
Yeah.
that station is 60 by 100.
And they got 6 sets of
100.
pumps, and this says 3 sets of pumps.
Yeah.
They have 6
They have
pumps?
6 sets of pumps at the Noria.
Extra one, I remember them coming
Yeah,
before
they
us
wanted
and asking
5
for that.
originally, and then we gave them 6, yeah.
Well, that was
Yeah, there you
electric
go, see?
charging. I thought that was electric charging station that they were adding in there, no?
No, the
No, they wanted
electric
another
charging
pump.
station is over on the side. They've got 2 of them, too.
So that's 100
So,
feet long, that
That's
building.
why, I personally don't find this that dense.
I was just looking through everything as far as all the sites next there, and they're all tight. So I guess I'm not really going to be a stickler over the drive-through.
And this isn't their entire, they got land behind them that's gonna be all wooded and everything. You said like a 50-foot buffer. and
Yeah, we're respecting the 50-foot no
You're
activity
respecting the
zone.
50-foot line.
Correct.
So there's a bunch of vegetation on the lot, it's just not, it's being improved. This is the way I see it, guys. It's making a,
I agree.
it's being improved. And I'd say, let's see how much of a variance the front yard setback is. They're looking for a variance on the impervious surface coverage. They're looking for a variance on the number of parking spaces, 1 per 150 square feet. So doesn't that come to 14?
Yes, we
So
think
you say you've got it, and the commissioner says you don't.
Yeah, the commissioner
He's not counting the 6 at the
questions
station.
the spaces at the dispensers, but I know you've done that before at Noria.
Yeah. We did count them at Noria, and we did, yeah, absolutely.
So if the building were smaller, though, the parking variance would be gone. Probably the coverage would be gone. You could put more, if you reduced the size of that and kept basically the perimeter around the building, you could then actually put your landscape buffer. That's just what I'm saying. Like, there are ways to work this so that we're not granting 1, 2, 3,
see
4,
somebody-
5.
Anybody here have an objection to letting somebody from the public speak?
Not at all.
Go ahead, Len. Come on up.
Just so you know background,
You gotta say it into the mic, otherwise they're gonna yell at you, you can't hear you.
While not representing Cape Cod Gas in this particular matter, I am general counsel for Cape Cod Gas. And I think the thing that needs to be brought to attention is when a businessman takes a look at a declining property and says, what can we do with it? They have to take into consideration how it survives financially. So if they're going to do this project, it doesn't work without a drive-through. In today's world, you have to have a drive-through, and you won't find a gas station being built in the last 5 years without a convenience store. The money is no longer made on pumping gas. The money is made in the convenience store. The gas is what brings people in. And I can tell you from my experience, every morning my wife gets coffee at a Speedway, and every morning she parks at the pump and goes into the Speedway, gets her coffee, and comes back out, and she never buys gas there. Because the drive-through is usually too busy. So do they use that as a parking space? Yeah, there's a lot of people that are just as smart as my wife, and just pulls up to the pump when they're empty, goes in and gets their coffee, which they now order ahead. The world has just changed. And I just think you need to consider that when you look at a project. The tanks, which are old, they're all going to be ripped up and put in with brand-new, double-walled, up-to-date tanks. The station, the pumps are going to be brand-new, up-to-date pumps. It's going to look like the same kind of thing that like Noria just put up. It's an investment of a lot of money. You have to give these business people the ability to do it or they just don't do it. You're talking about buffers on Cranberry Highway. There are no stores with buffers on Cranberry Highway. You can go all along the highway. One store after another store. This isn't a residential area. I know it would look nice, and people, would like to see a little greenery somewhere, and they try to put it in, but you can't put it in at the risk of destroying what makes a living and makes it worthwhile to make that kind of business investment. I mean, I would think the town would like to see a much nicer gas station there that's to today's standards and a convenience store. I just think it serves the public better. So, a lot of this is made and came about because of that center island. I can tell you that, when that was put in, not many people considered the impact that it was going to have on the stores in, like, mobile home parks on each side.
And the people trying to go to them. I go to that strip every day, and let me tell you, I hate having to go an extra half mile down and sit at a light longer. It screws my day up.
Well,
They have definitely ruined that.
I happen to also represent most of the mobile home parks in southeastern Mass area, especially the Wareham area. And I don't know how anybody expects us to drive a mobile home into any of those parks now. I mean, we replaced those houses and put in new mobile homes. We, at the last minute, we sort of got a curb cut or a sort of turnaround put in, and you'll see it as you drive down. But that's so that a truck with a house on the back can try to come around and get into a park.
Is that what that thing that looks like a bus stop in the middle of the median is?
Yes.
I wondered what that was for.
That was like a last minute, somebody figured out that
That's so that a
people can
trailer
drive
truck
in,
can
but
take a right-hand
those
turn.
new mobile homes that come on a truck that's 60 feet long, there's no way they can get across that median strip. But it's every business has been affected, and it certainly hasn't increased their businesses. Everybody's taken a bit of a hit. And so I just think you should keep that into consideration. I know I've sat on your seats. I've sat on that board for many years. And I know you're taking them one by one, but you got to really, as a practical matter...
It's a group.
You got to take it's a package deal. I mean, either it's going to work for everybody or it's going to fall apart.
I was just trying to eliminate the objections one by one.
I understand, I just point that out to you.
Yeah.
And your real work is going to be site plan review. If it doesn't look pretty,
Yeah.
if you find that, something ought to be a little bit higher or a little bit lower, but if you say, well, take 15 feet off the right side of the store, you're saying, well, that's like taking the profit off the business. So it's designed that way, and it's designed with the idea of this makes it financially worthwhile for us to make the investment and to put this project in place. I just thought I'd throw that out to you while I'm sitting and listening to this.
Yeah.
But I'm not being paid to represent anybody here, so, whatever you do, you do.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. So, I've already, I'll echo my own sentiments. I'm good with giving them direction to go forward and bring us the plans for a site plan review. Send it over to Alan Majors. I understand Veronica's point about landscape buffers. I think the attorney made a good point. We could get the kind of arborvitae or gold, whatever it is, emerald greens or whatever. It's to me, the way I see it, it's either they get these variances or they don't build, and it's not it's no skin off our back, I get it. So we either just decide if we want to have a Cape Cod gas where guys run out and pump the gas, or if we want to have a little convenience store where people pull in, and this will have a canopy over it and the whole Ansel system and all that, the fire.
Yeah, it'll all be state-of-the-art. The canopy
the-
concept right now is it's not going to be a flat canopy. It'll kind of have a little bit of molding and a little bit of height to it. Down at the Wayho Rotary, the Save-On,
Yep,
I don't know if you know what that canopy looks like, but it'll have a little bit of texture and some height to it.
Well, I'm good.
you're good, with setting them loose and saying they're gonna get a drive-through and they're gonna get a,
I mean, again,
convenience
you
store
can't handicap them to the point of where it's not going to be worth the investment, so.
that's the
And,
way I-
and over there, it's not like it's a huge detriment to anything. All they are is trying to be a businessman. And that's where business is supposed to be.
I don't know, some people climbing up that tower to go down the water whiz slide might look over and say, oh no, a gas station. I'm not going to water whiz ever again.
The Water Whiz looks like the War of the Worlds anyway.
That gas station was in one of the movies. You had
I know.
way back, so it's now become iconic.
And he's coming back to make another movie in town, but nobody's supposed to know it. But anyway, so what do you think, guys? Does anybody want to give these people some direction? Are we gonna be willing to grant them some relief and let them go forward, or are we gonna make them spend a lot of money on Allen Majors and then let them throw their arms up and surrender and go away? Or I'm not gonna make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the plans, approve the variances.
Okay. You want to do them, you want to vote on the variances tonight, or do you want to group them with the site plan review?
I thought that a goal was to get the variances out of,
Let's get them out, so you're making a motion to approve, you want to group all 5 of them as one and just say we grant, or do you want to,
yeah. I make a motion to grant them all the variances.
all 5 variances requested?
Exactly.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, so now we can vote. So the motion is made by Richard and it's seconded by Troy. And the motion is to grant relief on the 5 variances necessary so that we can go forward with site plan review. Troy? Aye, yea, and nay?
Yay.
Veronica?
I have to think about it. Let me think about it. I don't know.
Well, let's see if we need it. Chris?
Aye.
Aye. Richard?
Aye.
Myself, aye. You can do anything you want. You got 4.
I'm going to abstain.
You can abstain, okay. You got your variances.
Did we have to close a public hearing or anything?
Well, because we're going to keep the
Oh,
public
that's right, we're going to
hearing
keep it over for the site plan review.
We only
Okay,
voted
thank
on
you.
that portion of it.
Yep, thank you.
And we really can't take, unless you guys are ready to just say, yeah, sure, these plans look great, we don't need Allen Majors.
Yeah, so are those conditioned?
Huh?
Conditioned?
No, we're going to do,
For
now we're going
approval
to
of-
create this 53G account and torture these guys. Now we get them to spend more money. We told them, okay, you can spend some money, give some money to another engineer, let them pick your plans apart, then come back, then we can pick Alan Major's plans apart. We can tell them we want emerald green bushes on a yellow brick road, and we'll all end up in Kansas. So I think what we need is a motion to,
Toto? Oh.
a motion to create a 53G account, or do we even need a motion for that? You guys ready to Is your client, your client's ready to put together?
53G is already established.
It's already established, so all we need now is for them to review you.
Yep,
So we need to continue so that review can happen, and we can get there, they can poke their sticks at you, and then we can come back and read it.
If you could ask maybe if 3 weeks would be sufficient
weeks?
for the review engineer?
Need 3 weeks? So you're not coming, you're gonna continue, but you're not coming back in August, you're gonna come back the first meeting in September, is that, am I hearing that right?
All right. Away the first week in
You
September.
want the second meeting in August? Second meeting in August will work?
I'm away the first week, but second one in September. We can go to the second meeting in September?
The second meeting in September,
August, sorry.
second meeting in August.
Sorry, yes.
Was that the
Okay.
28th, right? So August 28th,
And that's August 28th, is that the right date?
correct, sir? Correct.
Okay.
We have the 14th and then the 28th.
Okay.
So it'll be the
So-
28th?
So somebody's going to make a motion for us to continue until August 28th. And that would be Troy, and somebody's going to second it.
A second.
And that would be Mr. Conti. So, all in favor? Troy?
Aye.
Veronica? This is to continue.
Oh, aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Okay, we're continued.
Thank you very much.
And any other business? Nazi, you want to come up here and see if there's any, you want to do the call for an adjournment? Who wants to make a motion to adjourn?
Did we ever figure out, I know that we beat a dead horse last week, but did we ever figure out who's responsible for upholding our variance conditions?
I contend that the building commissioner is the zoning bylaw enforcement officer.
Okay,
Yes, I think it says it right in,
yeah.
right in the zoning bylaw.
Phil wants to be the enforcement officer?
No.
So we need a
I
motion.
can't imagine what 53G account we'd have to put up with that one.
You guys want to vote on an adjournment or sit here and chitter-chatter?
Make, if everybody's done,
We're done?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Myself, aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.